Unbelievable revelation. When the mail-order bride's hidden past surprised 10,000 hearts. Emma stood in the Maplewood diner, her hands trembling slightly as she wiped down the counter. The smell of burnt coffee lingered in the air, mixing with the clatter of plates and distant laughter. Each day felt like a treadmill she couldn't escape, the monotony pulling her down into an abyss of economic despair. But today, she felt different. She couldn't shake the thought of Jim, the gentle rancher who had agreed to meet her after she navigated the world of mail-order brides. A rush of excitement collided with deep fear. Was this her chance to break free? To find love and escape the cycle that bound her and her spirited daughter, Lily, to this small Midwestern town? Just moments ago, as the lunch rush subsided, Emma had overheard whispers among the customers. Just a waitress, one woman had sneered. Who thinks she can marry a rancher? What a joke. The taunts gnawed at her, filling her with unease. Who was she kidding? She was a struggling waitress without a degree, trying to support a child. The thought of facing Jim's affluent family made her stomach churn. What if they saw her as a fraud? She tried to shake it off, to focus on the possibility of love and a future, but the shadows of doubt loomed large. As she pulled on her jacket after her shift, she glanced in the mirror, searching for nerve. A woman with dreams stared back at her, yet the weight of unfinished veterinary science courses hung heavily in her heart. It was suffocating. What if Jim's family found out about her past? Would they not only see a waitress, but also a failure? Irregular breathing accompanied circles of uncertainty in her mind. She wanted more than this, more than Maplewood could offer. Her daughter needed that too. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emma approached Jim's ranch as the sun dipped low, the golden light casting long, intriguing shadows. She could see him tending to the horses, their elegant forms moving effortlessly across the field. Hope flared inside her, but so did the fear of being an interloper. What if the other women in town envied her? When they glanced at her with judgment, would they see the ambitions she hid? Inside, anxiety bubbled as his family buzzed around like wasps, ready to sting her with their snide remarks. Just as Emma prepared to step onto this dream, an unexpected knock on her door changed everything. Her estranged father, the man who had walked out years ago, stood there, looking older but determined. "I'm back, Emma. I need to talk," he said, voices from the past rising inside her like a storm. His revelation was worse than she expected. A retired veterinarian, the legacy of unfulfilled dreams weighed upon their shoulders. Would reconciling with him mean losing her chance with Jim? Tension twisted in Emma's chest as she grappled with the decision looming ahead. Could she navigate the complexities of love while untangling the emotional web of her father's return? She drew a shaky breath, her gaze drifting from the gleaming ranch to the man she barely knew but desperately wanted to understand. Torn between two worlds, she stood on the precipice of a decision that could rewrite her entire life. As Lily watched her mother wrestle with this monumental choice, nothing felt secure anymore. Would she pursue the future she dreamed of, or succumb to the weighty expectations from both men in her life? The fate of their dreams hung precariously in the balance, leaving readers to wonder, could she forge a legacy of her own, or would obligation drown out her aspirations? Emma leaned against the doorframe, her heart pounding like a wildfire. The heat radiated from the unresolved memories drawn forth by her father's sudden appearance. The man who had vanished years ago was somehow tethered to her struggle and her aspirations, yet she felt no warmth toward him. The mixture of anger and curiosity warred inside her, leaving her feeling fragmented as she took a step back, inviting him into the small, cluttered living room that had been both a prison and a sanctuary. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice strained but firm. The walls felt as if they were closing in, mirroring the tumultuous storm of emotions brewing within her. "I just want to explain," he replied softly, a hint of uncertainty creeping into his tone. Emma clenched her jaw, her resolve hardening. Explanation was futile when betrayal was the seed planted in her past. At the moment, she needed to focus on her daughter, on the life she hoped to build, not on the disillusion of a father who had left when she needed him most. Explain what? How you abandoned us. The accusation hung in the air, heavy with unspoken years of hurt. I left because I thought it was for the best. I had my own failures to deal with, and I didn't think I could be a good father. But I'm a veterinarian now, and I want to help you. He pleaded, vulnerability cracking through his hardened exterior. Her thoughts flared with suspicion. Would his return bring more regret? Or could it be the tipping point toward her dreams of veterinary school? If he truly had knowledge to share, perhaps this could lead her closer to reclaiming her lost aspirations. At the same time, doubt curdled her stomach. Could she embrace this man? Or would he only drag her back into a cycle of disappointment? The clock ticked ominously in the silence that followed. Emma wondered if she could confront the past while building her future. All she envisioned was the far-reaching fields of Jim's ranch, the unwavering support. She craved a world where love eclipsed resentment. Let us not make this about your regrets. I have to think of Lily, she finally said, deliberately putting her daughter's well-being at the forefront. You may want to help, but I can't risk my dreams crumbling more than they already have. A flicker of understanding passed through her father's eyes, but Emma was too wrapped in her own thoughts to dwell on it. She had to confront more than just her troubled relationship with him. She needed to look into the mirror of her own fears. The next days were consumed with questions. How could she secure a better life for Lily? And could her father's experiences offer the insight she needed? Emma painstakingly created a plan, mapping out ways to balance her newfound connection with her father and her desire to claim the future she envisioned with Jim. On the surface, her life continued as normal, shrouded with the usual banter of the diner. But within her, she felt the stirrings of resolve. Each interaction with Jim carried weight, each moment further exposing the need for honesty about her past. She suddenly realized that strength came not just from severing ties with the past, but also in accepting it. When Jim finally approached her with questions about their future, the vulnerability washed over her. For the first time, she felt ready to be honest. Jim, I need to tell you something. Just as the words teased her lips, a sudden commotion rattled outside the diner. Pulling her attention from her confession, a truck rolled in with haste. A familiar face emerging, an old classmate, David, who carried with him whispers of opportunities and promises. You need to hear this, he insisted. And as he stepped inside, Emma could sense the excitement intoxicating the air. But she also felt the tension. It was another chance, another complication whisking her further from resolution. What would David's return mean for her dreams and the new path forming before her? Would she step closer to her future or unravel into more confusion? The uncertainty hung palpably, leaving her poised in the midst of possibility. Emma's mind raced as David stepped into the diner. The jovial, easy familiarity of their high school days flickered briefly, but within her, deeper questions spiraled. What kind of opportunity awaited her, and at what cost would it come? David, what is going on? She asked, a slight tremor in her voice. The excitement in the air was thick, yet unsettling. Her protective instinct for Lily surged. Could any opportunity come without strings attached? David's face was animated, his smile blindingly bright. I've got news. There's an internship opening at the wildlife reserve just outside the city. I thought of you immediately, he explained, his enthusiasm infectious. It's 6 months where you can work with all kinds of wildlife, gain hands-on experience, and it could really help your application for veterinary school. The layer of warmth inside the diner dimmed as Emma processed David's words. This was what she had longed for, yet the thought of leaving Lily behind during this pivotal time haunted her. Could she really pursue her dreams while also being the mother her daughter deserved? David, that sounds amazing, truly. But I'm not sure I can take that step right now, she replied cautiously. The thought of balancing her aspirations with motherhood weighed heavily on her. Each decision shifted the fragile balance she had built over the years. Emma, you have to think long-term. This could change everything for you, he pressed, leaning in as if to draw her into his conviction. You've got the potential, and I've seen your dedication firsthand. You wouldn't be leaving Lily behind. You would be securing a better future for both of you. His words struck a chord, but skepticism smoldered beneath her determination. What if the internship was just another in a long line of opportunities that slipped through her fingers? Her father had left her clinging to dreams she couldn't repeat that same cycle. As her heart wrestled with fear and ambition, a new thought emerged. Was she ready to confront the demons of her past to seize this chance for her future? Was she willing to face her father, mold a new relationship, while juggling her daughter's needs and her own professional aspirations? "I need time to think about this," she finally said, her voice steadier than she felt. "It's a big decision, and I can't just leap." With each word, she felt her resolve strengthening. Emma had always been cautious. Perhaps it was time to embrace risk, but with her conditions intact, David nodded, understanding. "I'll give you space. Just know that the offer isn't going to last forever." The weight of that reality pressured her mind further. As he moved to leave, she felt the churn of conflicting emotions. Could she afford to let fear dictate her choices? Or was this precisely the moment she had to confront it? She glanced towards the diner window, the world outside bustling, oblivious to her internal turmoil. A part of her craved that normalcy, yet another part longed for her own equation of success. The ensuing days carried an air of apprehension as Emma consultatively considered her options, balancing time with Lily against palpable opportunity. Every moment spent with her daughter brought clarity, yet the allure of her dreams flickered more brightly with each recollection of what could be. But then her father reintroduced himself to her life, his presence lingering uncomfortably in her thoughts. Their brief conversation sat heavy on her shoulders. She needed to confront him regarding the years lost, perhaps finally articulating her resentments. One evening, after tucking Lily into bed, Emma felt a surge of defiance. It was time to face her personal history, to break through the layers she had crafted to protect her vulnerabilities. She gathered her thoughts and stepped outside, determination settling in her heart. And yet the moment before she rang her father's number, uncertainty pressed in. Emma needed to discover who she was before she could step forward confidently into both her past and her future. The question that pulsed was daunting, both energizing and terrifying. Was she truly ready to confront her history while unlocking her potential? The phone rang, and a decision, unseen and monumental, shimmered just out of reach, swaying her toward a pivotal chapter waiting to unfold. What awaited her on the other side of this conversation would either tether her to the past or propel her into the future. The phone rang, each tone resonating with an urgency that made Emma's heart race. It wasn't just a connection to her past. It felt like the tether pulling her towards the person she needed to become. Swallowing hard, she braced herself and finally pressed the button to answer, her voice steady even as her insides churned. "Dad," she managed, the word feeling foreign yet necessary. There was silence on the other end, as if both of them were measuring the weight of their shared history and fractured relationship. The absence of recognition hung in the air, a chasm filled with loss. "Emma, it's good to hear your voice," he said after a moment, his tone tentative. "I know things have been complicated between us." Complicated? The word dangled between them, insufficient to capture the years of hurt, neglect, and confusion. Emma felt her anger rise, wanting to unleash years of repressed feelings in a single breath. "You left. You chose to walk away from us. That's not complicated. That's your choice." "I know," he replied, a hint of weariness shadowing his voice. "It wasn't easy for me, either. I thought I needed to step away for your sake." "For my sake? Is that how you rationalized it?" She interrupted, her frustration boiling over. "You have no idea what it did to us, what it did to me." The conversation swirled, transforming the static air around her into a charged battlefield of words. Yet with each emotional jolt, a flicker of something else emerged within Emma. She wasn't just reliving old wounds. She was reclaiming her narrative, ensuring it unraveled according to her understanding. "We need to talk about where you've been, Dad, and why you think showing up now changes anything. Are you really here to reconnect, or is this just another chapter of disappointment?" Her voice took on a resolute quality, a stark contrast to the vulnerable girl she'd been all those years ago. "I want to make amends," he replied, regret creeping into his tone. "I've made mistakes, Emma. I've spent so long regretting walking away. It was cowardice, really, and a mistake I can't undo." Emma paused, the sincerity in his voice catching her off guard. This hadn't been the outcome she anticipated. Faced with an uncertain sincerity, her resolve seemed to waver. Could she truly unravel the threads of her past to understand the man before her now? "How can I trust you?" she asked, her voice softer even as her heart raced. "What guarantees can you give me that you won't run away again when things get hard?" "Trust is earned, not given," he conceded, the weight of his acceptance palpable. "But I want to try. I can only ask for the chance to show you I've changed. I'm not the same person I was." Emma's chest tightened with the duality of hope and caution. This confrontation, this reckoning was more than just words, it was a call to action. She had spent years coming to terms with her father's absence, sculpting her approach to life while balancing her responsibilities as a mother. Now, she was at a pivotal intersection where the future of her dreams and reconciling her past collided. "Are you willing to meet? To talk face to face? Because I need to see you." To know before she could finish, he interrupted, "Absolutely. I'll come by tomorrow, if you're ready." As they hung up, Emma leaned against the porch railing, the cool night air washing over her. Tomorrow would not just bring a conversation. It would stir the unresolved emotions dancing in her heart, testing her determination to embrace a new chapter while confronting the wounds of the old. There was a flicker of hope. She could potentially forge a new relationship with her father, and with it, a deeper understanding of herself. Yet what remained unspoken in her mind was the impact this would have on her decision about the internship. Would she walk into this reconciliation with a sense of duty or newfound ambition? In the hush of the night, as her heavy thoughts churned, an undeniable realization emerged. This was not just a meeting to reassess her past. It was a gateway to her future, a possible renewal of purpose. The decisions spiraled onward, just as her phone rang again. Before even looking at the caller ID, she knew it was David. A part of her wondered, was she ready to take both the emotional leap with her father and the professional leap into the unknown? With a trembling hand, she answered, ready to navigate yet another crucial juncture of her life. "Hello?" What awaited on the other end would demand clarity and commitment, challenging the very foundations Emma had just begun to shake. Would she be able to sustain her newfound convictions while embracing opportunities that could elevate her life and her daughter's? Emma's pulse quickened as she listened to David's voice, an anchor amidst the whirlwind of her thoughts. "Hey, Emma, I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." His casual tone struck a stark contrast to the tempest brewing inside her. The looming confrontation with her father hung like a heavy cloud, and here was David, oblivious yet significant in her life. "No, it's okay," she replied, striving to keep her voice steady. "I just wrapped up a call, lots on my mind." "Sounds serious. How about we grab that coffee later? I could use a good chat about the internship too," he suggested, his sincerity radiating through the phone. Emma hesitated, weighing the importance of this meeting against the emotional gravity of the impending encounter with her dad. Yet her professional aspirations resonated strongly. Pursuing the internship was not merely about career advancement. It was a chance to build a life she could be proud of, to model resilience for her daughter. "Yeah, let us do it. How about the cafe at 3? She proposed, her voice edged by a new resolve. "Perfect. See you there." As she hung up, Emma noticed an emerging determination. She was stepping towards her goals, even as she braced for the emotional deluge her father's arrival could trigger. The juxtaposition was startling. If she could stand firm for her aspirations in the face of fear, perhaps facing her father wouldn't be as paralyzing after all. Later, as she prepared for the coffee meeting, she picked through her wardrobe, eyeing the pieces that had become symbols of her journey. Each outfit shift mirrored a transition of burgeoning professional identity battling the remnants of her past. The tension in her chest tightened as she settled on a simple blouse and fitted trousers. This wasn't just about presenting her best self. It was about proving to herself that she could command both her personal and professional narratives simultaneously. At the cafe, she felt the atmosphere crackle with potential. David arrived, his presence immediately grounding her. "Hey, you look great," he said, a genuine smile brightening his face. "Thanks. So do you," she returned, momentarily distracted by his warmth. But as they settled into the rhythm of the conversation, her thoughts flickered to her father. Would this interaction be as effortless? Before she could spiral into uncertainty, David shifted the topic, expertly drawing her back into the present. Have you thought more about the project you're pitching? I know it's a big step. His question was direct, yet supportive. Emma nodded, gathering her thoughts. Yeah, I've been mapping out the details, but I also need to be honest, I'm feeling a little uneasy about balancing everything. The admission felt liberating. It was evidence of her growth, her shift from silently grappling to openly confronting her challenges. Don't overthink it, David encouraged. You've got the skills, and you know the project inside out. Lean into that. You'll shine. His confidence in her reignited a spark within Emma. Maybe this was what she needed, a reminder that she was fully capable of achieving her dreams despite personal turmoil. As they discussed strategies and future goals, Emma became more animated, her ideas flowing freely. Each word solidified her sense of agency. Yet, lurking in the back of her mind was the shadow of her father's impending arrival. Later, as their conversation shifted to personal ambitions and aspirations, she felt a tight knot in her stomach. They veered into moments of sharing their family backgrounds, and an uneasy truth gripped her. She was afraid of how her past would intertwine with her future, unnerved by the idea of her father potentially judging the woman she had become. She wrapped up her thoughts for the day and exited the cafe. She recognized that the impending meeting was more than a reconciliation. It was an opportunity to draw boundaries and redefine relationships, her father's expectations versus her own achievements. What if the meeting transformed her life or revealed hidden strengths? Yet, within the uncertainties, loomed the greater questions. Would she be able to confront her past and celebrate her progress without being dragged back into feelings of inadequacy? With every step toward her home, the weight of these revelations settled on her. Tomorrow would bring her face to face with her father, and the crossroads of her identity awaited. A sudden thought pierced her certainty. Was she ready to share the woman she had become with the man who had shaped so much of her past? Would she find strength in his presence or merely fall back into old shadows? The door to her future felt ajar, inviting yet daunting. What awaited her on the other side? Emma stood at the doorway, her fingers brushing the smooth wood as she prepared to step into the intricate dance of emotions that awaited her. Her heart raced, matching the pulse of uncertainty that thrummed in her veins. The day had come, and her mind churned with the possibilities of what the confrontation with her father might reveal. As she moved toward her kitchen, she implemented the strategies she'd discussed with David. She needed clarity, a mental checklist of her growth thus far. Each achievement felt like a brick in a wall she was rebuilding, layer by layer. Managing her internship application, advocating for her ideas, and ultimately becoming a role model for her daughter, these were her victories. Yet, the looming presence of her father threatened to dismantle this wall. She brewed a strong cup of coffee, inhaling the rich aroma, as if it might somehow alleviate the heaviness in her chest. She jotted down her thoughts, creating a visual map of her objectives for the day. Articulating her achievements on paper, however modest, was vital. It acted as a reminder to both her and her father of her journey towards independence. Each bullet point represented a personal milestone: returning to college, completing significant projects, and creating a stable environment for her daughter. Moments of reflection allowed her to take stock of her emotions. What she had once perceived as weaknesses had transformed into strengths, paving the way for her growth. How could she show her father that the girl he once knew no longer defined her? It was essential she found the words to convey that evolution without anger or defensiveness. She glanced at the clock. A surge of urgency spurred her into action. She needed to prepare not just her thoughts, but her heart. With purpose, Emma chose a light jacket to layer over her blouse, a comforting reminder of her strength. It encapsulated the dichotomy of her identity. She was forging a professional path while grappling with the emotional weight her father represented. Arriving at the cafe a little early, she immersed herself in the environment, letting the bustling activity distract her from internal tremors. Yet, the grounding comfort found in the atmosphere was ephemeral. The reality of the meeting loomed larger with every passing minute. How would he react to the woman she had become? Would he try to impose old beliefs? David's words echoed in her mind. Lean into it. This wasn't just about her father's perceptions. This was an opportunity for her to assert who she was and what she had achieved. The idea of asserting her space amid familial shadows burned with fierce intensity. When her father finally approached, the familiar features carved into a stern expression drew her gaze. Years had passed since they last stood face to face, and the weight of silence fell heavily upon her. Every unwelcome memory swirled, battling against the voice of her empowered self. "Emma," he greeted, the warmth in his tone tangling with a hint of distance. He seemed unsure, as if caught off guard by the matured woman standing before him. "Dad," she replied, her voice steady but the quaking of her resolve barely contained. The initial stilted exchange over the espresso machine was anything but organic. Yet, there was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. A space between them beckoned for dialogue. As they sat, her mind was a whirlwind. Every sentence would matter now. Emma took a deep breath, ready to break the tension, to navigate this uncharted territory. "I've been thinking a lot about our past, about myself," she began, "and I want to share who I am now." With each word and hesitation, Emma felt a deeper strength emerge, one she had labored to cultivate. Yet, doubts loomed like dark clouds. Would he see her truth, or merely reflect his own shadows back at her? As she continued, each moment held the potential to forge a new reality. The past lingered intensely, but perhaps this was also a chance to redefine their relationship, laying the groundwork for mutual understanding. The journey she embarked on was fraught but essential, and her narrative demanded to be expressed. Would she have the courage to expose the woman she had become? As the conversation intensified and the air thickened with unspoken truths, she realized that this was just the beginning of a transformative exchange. As something within her began to shift, one question hung heavily in the air. Would her father embrace this new Emma, or would she have to forge her path alone? The answer hovered tantalizingly close, yet just out of reach. What revelation awaited her in this pivotal moment? Emma's heart raced as she waded deeper into the conversation, her father's expression shifting from cautious inquiry to a landscape of confusion. "What do you mean, who you are now?" he asked, his brows knitting tightly. The question felt like a pin thrust into the bubble of courage she had constructed. "I've learned a lot about myself since we last spoke," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I've been working hard to become the woman I want to be, and that's not someone you may remember." In that moment, Emma felt the weight of her narrative pressing against the walls of her father's understanding. She could see him grappling with the notion that the daughter he once knew had morphed into a stranger. "You mean this independence?" he replied, skepticism laced with hints of disbelief. "You always wanted to be approved, Emma. Isn't that what this is about?" His words struck her like a blow. There was a kernel of what he said that resonated painfully. She had spent years chasing approval, seeking validation in her father's shadows. But now, she refused to fall back into that pattern. "It's not about your approval. It's about me living my life authentically." At that moment, Emma recognized a new resolve swelling inside her. Whether he understood or accepted her journey was beyond her control, but this was the moment she would begin to reshape their narrative. There was power in naming her truth. She was not seeking permission. She was claiming her existence. "Why are you angry?" he pressed, an edge creeping into his tone. She felt the dichotomy of past and present clash violently in her chest. Was she angry? Or was she simply tired of apologizing for her existence? "I'm not angry, Dad. I'm tired. Tired of feeling less than because of who you thought I was." Emma's breathing steadied, fueled by the realization of how much was at stake. Her father's face hardened, but she pressed on. "I want you to see me not through your lens of disappointment, but through my own achievements and failures. I'm a student, a mother, and I'm building a life." For a fleeting moment, the cafe faded away, leaving just her and her father suspended in a breathless expanse of vulnerability and unspoken fears. His eyes betrayed confusion. Would he be willing to look beyond his preconceived notions and embrace this new reality? "What makes you think I disappointed you?" His voice wavered slightly, revealing an inkling of doubt. It was intriguing. This was a side of him she had never seen. Emma's heart ached with the weight of their shared history. "Because you taught me that I wasn't enough. And I need you to know that I am enough just as I am." She could see the flickering recognition in his expression, a hesitant crack in his stoic demeanor. Perhaps she could draw out the father she had longed for all of her life. one who awoke to the vulnerabilities that bound them. The cafe buzzed around them, oblivious to the seismic shift occurring at their table. As they lingered in this tense moment, Emma realized that the path to understanding wasn't a straight line. It was a labyrinth that had to be navigated carefully. Her voice softened unless it broke. "Let's not talk about the past, Dad. Let us talk about now. Is there room for a future where we both matter?" He turned away for a moment, staring into his coffee cup, processing her words. The silence stretched, pregnant with possibility. The air crackled with tension, the space alive with unvoiced emotions just waiting to surface. Emma waited in that suspended moment, her breath hitching with anticipation. She realized how deeply she yearned for connection, yet braced herself for any outcome. Would she continue uncovering layers of misunderstanding, or would they both begin to construct something new together? The answer seemed just beyond her reach, yet she felt the urge to press forward. Each potential rejection or acceptance fell away, and all that mattered now was laying the foundation for this moment. As her father's gaze slowly returned to her, a mix of fear and something softer flickered. Was it the hint of acceptance or merely resignation? The silence felt monumental. Emma sensed that they stood at a crossroads, and one question remained perplexingly unanswered. Would this be the moment of their rebirth together, or merely a stepping stone on a long and treacherous road ahead? The silence hung heavy, brimming with implications as Emma watched her father wrestle with the gravity of her words. This was not merely about their reunion. It was a critical juncture for her sense of self. Every heartbeat pulsed with uncertainty. How far could this dialogue stretch? How much could she dare to hope? Breaking the oppressive quiet, her father finally spoke. "I didn't know you felt this way." His voice emerged, edged with vulnerability. Emma's pulse quickened at the prospect of a breakthrough, yet caution held her back. "I thought you were proud of what I've done," he added, the hint of confusion mingling with a trace of apology. She mentally braced herself, acknowledging his limited understanding wouldn't be easy. Pride should come with understanding. Emma's reply was deliberate, filled with the knowledge of years spent craving clarity. Her father often viewed pride as a one-dimensional affirmation, something that didn't consider the nuances of her struggles. An unsettling shift occurred, as the nuances hung in the air between them. "What exactly do you understand about me now, Dad?" she challenged, her tone laced with both defiance and vulnerability. He hesitated, as if scrambling for the words. She felt the weight of the past, dense and unyielding, contrasted against the burgeoning desire for change. "I've learned to navigate my life by myself," she continued. "I've faced challenges that you may not even know about, struggles that shaped me, and yet, I'm still here." His brow slightly furrowed, but Emma continued, her voice gaining strength. "Every job I've worked, every exam I've taken, I did it not for your approval, but to find out who I am." Each statement became a stepping stone in her burgeoning self-definition. Was he realizing how deeply ingrained his expectations were in their past? Emma sensed something shifting within his identity too, which sparked both hope and fear in her heart. "I need you to see me, to hear me. Not through a lens of limitations, but through a reflection of what I truly am." His lips tightened, and the shadows of doubt swirled in his eyes. For a fleeting moment, a fleeting memory flickered across his face, a fragment of the girl she once was, the daughter he once tried to shape into something familiar. But this was no longer a story of compliance. It was a narrative of empowerment. "What if I don't recognize this version of you?" he finally asked, a tremor underpinning his voice, as if he were admitting to a looming fear about his own relevance in her life. "That's the point, Dad. I am asking you to learn alongside me." This was her ultimatum, the plea she needed to make clear. Emma's heart raced as she pondered the implications of his answer. If he chose to withdraw, she would have to face that reality and let him go yet again. But if he chose to remain, they could start anew. Yet even as she formulated this hope, a darker thought lingered, the gnawing fear of failure in this risky road to authenticity. What if this attempt fails again? Echoed in her mind. With each new realization, she felt the weight of this new chapter pushing against her. Their conversation resumed, wavering between silence and hesitant exchanges. A bubbling urgency sparked within her. "I'll find a way to share my struggles and show you my victories, but only if you're willing to do the same." At that moment, she felt the soft thrum of change, how deeply they both craved understanding, yet it remained uncertain if they could navigate these uncharted waters together. Emma leaned forward, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Can you make room for the daughter I've become?" He paused, the air surrounding them tinged with vulnerability and apprehension, a collision of fears and hopes. Emma held her breath, aware they were teetering on the edge of a profound revelation. As her father began to reply, uncertainty blurred her anticipation. This could either bind them in a shared journey toward understanding or unravel the threads of their relationship even further. A flicker of realization struck Emma. She understood that her father might never be able to fully comprehend her. Yet perhaps this imperfect exploration was worth the risk. The potential for either deep connection or painful rejection loomed heavier than ever, and she yearned for clarity as their words collided in time. What would he reveal next? His answer would chart the course of their relationship going forward, and Emma felt a breathless anticipation brewing within. The moment of truth was finally within reach. The atmosphere shifted further as her father's gaze fell to the table, turning the intensity of their moment into a deep contemplation. Emma seized the opportunity to observe her own feelings, a whirlwind of anxiety and hope intertwining in her mind. The air felt electric, and her heart raced with each passing second. Would he finally step into the space she had created for him? "Emma," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't pretend to understand everything you've been through. I can barely grasp the impact of my own decisions on your journey." This admission stung, and yet was a balm. She had anticipated walls, not this opening. With his admission, she felt a flicker of familiarity. Their past exchanges, often marred by misunderstandings, were beginning to transform before her eyes. "Maybe that's the first step," she replied quietly, grounding herself in the moment while gauging his reaction. "Maybe we don't need to understand everything at once. Just be willing to learn together." An inexplicable sensation coursed through her. Emma sensed layers of her identity intertwining with this critical conversation. She was redefining her uniqueness right before his eyes, unveiling the intricacies of forgiveness and hope. Yet the query of self-worth shadowed her thoughts. Would his willingness to embrace their evolution also mean greater acceptance of herself? Her father met her gaze with what appeared to be immense effort, as if each eye contact drew forth years of guarded emotions. "I want to be there for you, truly. I've just been so afraid that I wouldn't know how to support you." The irony of his words washed over her. Was this a reflection of her own fears, the fear of inadequacy in their reconciliatory journey? Emma's thrill mingled with anxiety, a coalescence of ambition and doubt. Could she break the cycle that loomed so heavily in their history? "Then let us find out, Dad," she replied, a surge of resolve igniting her voice. "Let us find a way to be there for each other, step by step." Yet beneath her brave facade, uncertainty bubbled. Could they really embark on this endeavor? What if navigating this new chapter was too complex, too unruly? As the minutes stretched into an eternity, Emma grappled with the idea of redefining her narrative while bearing the burden of expectation. "Okay, I'll try," he offered finally, a note of genuine conviction emerging. "I need to start understanding you differently. I want to know the woman you've become." Relief coursed through Emma's veins, but alongside it tugged more doubt. His admission, though liberating, awakened her fears anew. What if sharing her vulnerabilities caused more fracture than healing? Was she truly ready to unearth the remnants of herself concealed beneath layers of past disappointments? "Thank you," she breathed, though a knot formed in her stomach. "That means a lot to me." The subtle tension neither alleviated nor intensified. Instead, it remained, lingering like an uninvited guest, symbolizing their shared journey into uncharted emotional territory. Yet despite their breakthrough, Emma realized that before inviting her father fully into her world, she must first confront her past, the shadows of her childhood that still haunted her. Would she have the courage to shed those burdens, or would they trap her in a cycle of pain? As they sat together, navigating this new reality, a thought ignited, a revelation that held the potential to reshape everything. Could she fully forgive herself for the scars that still whispered reminders of pain? Emma knew that this journey was just as much about self-discovery as it was about familial reconciliation. The subtle flicker of apprehension guided her next insight into clarity. "But before we can truly connect, I need to face my past." There are things I haven't shared, stories I've kept locked inside. To move forward, I'll have to confront them. Her father nodded, the weight of her words settling over them. Emma understood that true connection required vulnerability and courage, both to heal and strive for a brighter, shared future. As anticipation gripped her heart, Emma took a deep breath. She felt poised on the brink of something monumental. The next step awaited her, one that could ultimately decide the course of healing for both herself and her father. And as she prepared to unveil the formative struggles that shaped her, a pulse of resolve surged within her. The moment had arrived for her to reclaim her narrative, a shimmering testament to resilience. What stories lingered beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be told? And would they draw her father closer or push him away entirely? Emma found herself standing at a critical intersection, her heart pounding with anticipation as she prepared to confront the stories of her past. The cafe buzzed around them, unaware of the monumental shift occurring at their table. She knew that unearthing her vulnerabilities was essential, but with each pulse of her heartbeat, self-doubt crept in. Would this unveiling lead to deeper understanding, or would it further fracture her tenuous relationship with her father? "Dad, you need to know what has shaped me," she began, steadying her voice. "The moments I've grappled with are more than just shadows. They form the fabric of who I am today." As she spoke, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whatever had lingered in the depths of her past had to be disentangled and laid bare. But she was determined to frame her narrative. "When you left, I felt abandoned. I spent years without a guide, struggling through school and motherhood. Those experiences forged my resilience. They taught me to stand on my own, to pave my path despite feeling like there was no one to turn to." Her father's eyes reflected an anguish that echoed her own, capturing the mutual longing for connection. "I didn't realize the impact of my absence," he admitted, his voice thick with newfound clarity. "I thought leaving would protect you from my failures, not realizing it would isolate you from seeking support." In that moment, the space between them shrunk. Her father was no longer merely a figure from her past, but a participant in her journey. This recognition transformed sorrow into empathy, bridging the chasm that had long separated them. Emma continued to share experiences, moments of triumph when she aced exams against odds, and nights when she sat by Lily's bed, wondering how she could give her daughter everything she never had. With each revelation, Emma felt the weight of her own expectations lift, empowering her to reclaim her narrative. "I've fought to achieve this independence, but I've also learned the importance of community, of having people to lean on," Emma articulated. "I don't need approval, but I do need to know that I can trust you to be here, to understand the woman I've become." Her father nodded, visibly processing the flood of emotions washing over him. After a painful silence, he finally spoke. "I want to be your ally, to share your journey rather than miss it. What can I do to support you?" His sincere question was a turning point. Instead of seeking approval, she was now defining the parameters of their relationship. Here, she recognized her capacity for growth. She trusted herself enough to engage with her father without losing sight of her own identity. "I want us to start fresh. We need honesty even if it hurts. I'm ready to talk about the internship and pursuing veterinary science. It's a major step for me, and I want you to see me not just as a mother, but as a professional driven by passion," she declared, her determination echoing throughout the cafe. "I promise to learn about veterinary science," he said, and his sincerity wrapped around Emma as a light blanket on a winter night. "Let us talk about your aspirations. This can be a new beginning for us both." In that transformative conversation, a palpable shift began. Together, they no longer just navigated the maze of their past. They turned towards the light of possibility. Emma felt weight lifted, her achievements celebrated, and her identity becoming more vibrant. Weeks passed, and she applied for the internship with renewed fervor, the application reflecting her authentic self. The day she received her interview invitation marked a triumph that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. In that moment, she realized she had begun to soar not just for herself, but as a role model for Lily, epitomizing resilience and the pursuit of dreams. During the interview, anchored by her father's support behind her, she spoke with confidence and clarity, sharing her passion for animal welfare and conservation. Each question seemed to solidify her resolve, each moment in that interview magnifying the growth she had fought so hard to attain. When she received the news of her acceptance into the internship just days later, the joy buoyed her spirit. She transformed her insecurities into a foundation upon which to build her future. That evening, Emma gathered with her father and Lily to share the news. The trio united in a celebration that transcended the wounds of the past. She could feel her father's pride. It wrapped around her like a warm hug, and in that moment, it cemented the beginning of a relationship forged on trust and shared dreams. Emma stood in front of the mirror again, but this time she saw a woman who had conquered her fears, embraced her identity, and taken decisive strides towards fulfillment. Solid confidence radiated from her being, recognized competence reflected in her achievements. She had proven that no past could extinguish the flame of ambition and hope. With an established position on a path she had shaped for herself, Emma stepped confidently into her future. Now is the time for you to seize a moment to push your fears aside and embark on your journey. You need to subscribe now to not miss exclusive emotional stories about personal overcoming. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like right now. It feeds the algorithm and helps more people discover their own strength. Comment below with your thoughts and reactions to Emma's powerful resolution. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion.